Hi everyone, I'm Mia here from Resonance Astrology and welcome back to my channel. And if you're new here, hi, welcome to my channel. I'm a Western tropical astrologer. I mainly focus on ancient Hellenistic astrology, but I blend in a bit of modern astrology as well. And I'm back here again with the weekly overviews. And this is a bit of a late night talk. And I must admit, I already recorded this once on my laptop and the audio just didn't quite pick up as I thought it would be. And the pacing was not alright as well. And then I was just like, I need to scratch that. I literally just cannot upload that. And then I just decided that, okay, I'm gonna first of all film and make a video out of it. And I'm just gonna upload it on YouTube. I feel like it's just not so important right now to upload it on Spotify. It's enough to have the podcast episodes on Spotify. So anyhow, to not blab too much, if anything, I really want to jump straight into this because at least here in Europe, it's already Monday evening. So we kind of already passed Monday, but I think it's okay. Monday is like, there's nothing super crazy happening on Monday. So I'm more so happy that it's getting out now still on Monday because Tuesday really is the most eventful day of the week. Because Mars retrograde is squaring Chiron, Venus enters Aries, and Jupiter stations direct. And then on Wednesday and Thursday, also nothing super significant is going on. And then on Friday, we have North Node conjunct Neptune. On Saturday, we also don't really have anything super significant. And then on Sunday, we have a Mercury-Sun conjunction in Aquarius, and Mars retrograde is trining Saturn in Pisces. And before we talk about everything in depth, let me just quickly, briefly drop in a tiny announcement that is already up on my Instagram. And I did also put it up on YouTube in a post. And that is that I'm doing an 8th house workshop with Duna Holler. It's happening this Saturday on February 8th. Yeah, it's 8 and 8. And also here in Central Europe time, it's also happening at 8 p.m. So it's perfect. And if you have any sort of keen interest on the 8th house, please feel free to join our workshop. It's going to be fun. We're going to do a lot of chart examples, and you also have the opportunity to get your chart read. So yeah, please sign up if that's something that feels right for you. I'm going to leave the link down below. You can also read more about it on the post that I made on YouTube and on Instagram. And yeah, it's kind of in addition to the 8th house podcast episode we did. So it's not necessary, but it is kind of a bit of a prerequisite that you have listened to the 8th house episode, because the 8th house episode is much more about the theory, and then the workshop is going to be much more practical and praxis oriented. So yeah, if you feel called to visit and go down into the gates of Hades with us, feel free to join us, and I'll see you there on Saturday, February 8th. And now let's talk about the astrology of the week ahead. So on late Monday evening here, we still have Mercury trine Jupiter retrograde. And this is interesting in the regard the fact that Jupiter is literally stationing direct one day later. And Jupiter is in the sign of Gemini, which is the ruler of Mercury. So it's interesting that they're getting this kind of relational aspect, and a trine is a beneficial aspect before Jupiter stations direct. I think it's a very beneficial push that we're getting, because it's kind of turning our luck around. And Jupiter also, besides having to do with luck, because this is a bit of a broad term, what does it mean that our luck is turning around? Jupiter also has a lot to do with our philosophies and the structures we hold our belief system in. So I think there is a turning point in how we might see certain things in our life, and it being supported by Mercury from the sign of Aquarius, that just recently also Mercury was conjunct Pluto in Aquarius. So it feels like there is this positive shift we can do in the way of thinking, and this momentum we're getting in, which kind of goes back. I feel like this week just really rounds up well towards the end, because by the end of the week, we have a Mercury-Sun conjunction. So I feel like this aspect just really rounds it off, and we get a whole full week, which just feels like a rotating back in a circle type of week, if that's how I can put it. And Jupiter is going to station direct at 11 degrees of Gemini. And the last time Jupiter was at these degrees and entered its pre-shadow period was July 15th, 2024. So look back at that time. And if you know which house Gemini rules in your chart, or which house Jupiter is currently traveling in your natal chart, there is about to be a shift, a redirection, and things that might have started then are now kind of getting a forward momentum. This is what happens when a planet stations direct again. In a way, it really has to do with a change of fortune. And we also have Mars retrograde square Chiron in the middle of the night from Monday to Tuesday. So if you have any sort of dreams that maybe come up of like old wounds or past hurts or something, see it as a liberating force. I think in our dreams, we often process so many things that we can't fully process in the waking mind. So that's why I mentioned dreams. But if anything else comes up, maybe a person triggers you or something reflects back to you some sort of wound you had been going on for a long while. In my opinion, squares are opportunities. I know they bring in tension, but tension and conflict also bring in opportunity and new solutions. So if there is some sort of wound that has been coming up into your life or just nagging, then see this transit as an opportunity to find new solutions. And since Chiron is in the sign of Aries, which is ruled by Mars, I would not be surprised if the wounds that come up in your life would be something that has to do with self-assertion and speaking up and standing for your truth, like standing up for your needs, what you need, saying what you want, say things as they are. It really has a lot to do with assertion, because Mars retrograde, especially in the sign of Cancer, can really retrieve back into its shell a lot and use that as a coping mechanism. But this square, especially right before Venus enters Aries, it's really pushing us forward to be more assertive and stand up for our needs. But first, we have to realize that we have them, which I think might be the core gift this is bringing up. And also what I really love about Venus entering Aries, because I think Venus in Pisces has to some extent been pretty kind to Mars in Cancer. They form a trine. So because Venus is in an exalted position in Pisces, I think she was just very benevolent towards Mars in Cancer and being like, yeah, take care of the soft animal of your body. It's good to retrieve. It's good to be in your safe little bubble dream world. But now when Venus enters Aries, it's like, no. We are gonna fight and stand up for what we love. And I think that is exactly what we need. And what I also often think of when I think of the sign of the ram, of the bull, which is ruled by Mars in Venus, which is a sign about relationships and our values and the beauty we find, there's something. Venus in Aries kind of poses the question, what is beautiful about conflict, and how can we use conflict to deepen our bonds? I think at the base of all of our good relationships is the ability to have conflict, to have good constructive conflict with each other, and see it as an opportunity to wield more intimacy and bring us closer together. And you don't really know someone until you've had your first conflict with them, because conflict reveals. And for many people, this is respectfully uncomfortable. It's totally fine. Conflict is naturally something that isn't really comfortable, so it's not like it should be. But it can reveal deeper truths about ourselves and the other person. And because Venus in Aries is a lot about self-assertion, and again, our wounds around self-assertion and standing up for ourselves might be coming up due to that Mars retrograde square Chiron, just be aware and keep in mind that if you are losing people and things are falling away, because Mars is about severing and cutting ties, if you're losing people because you are being more assertive and standing up for yourself, that's a good thing. That's a good riddance. even though this process involves a lot of discomfort that we also have to sieve through and sit through, because conflict is never easy on both sides. But ultimately, it can be a revelation to deepen a relationship with other people, as it should be. But it can also reveal that you are not compatible with someone due to the fact that you both are in conflict in completely different ways, or there's many misunderstandings. So if you can't really be in conflict with someone else, and it doesn't foster more intimacy and actually pushes each other further away from each other, maybe it's a good thing for that to be revealed, because then you can have a better understanding of which people might be really worth your time and energy. So this is for Tuesday, and again, I think Tuesday might be the most impactful day of the week. On Wednesday, as I said, nothing really significant is going on. We have Moon in Taurus conjunct Uranus in Taurus, which happens pretty much every month. I guess the only new thing in this regard is that just recently Uranus stationed retrograde, so the Moon is conjoining Uranus in a direct motion again. But other than that, nothing super crazy and significant is happening. Same on Thursday. And then on Friday, we have the North Node conjunct Neptune and Venus sextiling Pluto. And North Node conjunct Neptune, I think, is kind of a continuation of what we experienced on Friday when we had the triple or quadruple, in my opinion, conjunction, because the moon was in Pisces as well. And I feel like people have ignored that for some reason. It was not just Venus conjoining the North Node and Neptune. Like, the moon was in Pisces too, so it definitely was a quadruple conjunction happening there. And I think the North Node conjoining Neptune is kind of a continuation of that. So whatever has been coming up and going on in your life on Friday, it just feels like that is a continuation. And maybe because the focus is more on Neptune around this time and not really Venus, Neptune has a lot to do with our imagination and honing our imagination. So it might be a good day, because the North Node amplifies, it increases. So whatever planet it travels by close to, it kind of increases the qualities of that planet. So it would increase the goodness and the graciousness and the idealism and the imaginative qualities of Neptune on that day, which can be a beautiful thing. And I kind of love that this is happening on Friday, which is Venus days. So if you want to do something lovely, like go to the movies or take a long bath in your bathtub, this is the perfect day for doing such an activity. I also like the small Venus sextile Pluto aspect that is going on. It feels fitting and nice, although I guess I could say comes with a bit of a warning, because I guess the caution I would put on Friday with North Node conjunct Neptune as well is that if you're going out and meeting new people, be cautious and aware, because not everything might be the way that it seems. And Venus sextile Pluto can bring up some intensity, so there might be some primal sexual attraction going on. So just if you easily fall for people or are easily swayed by people, it might not be the best to just trust them. Or if you do, just be aware that maybe the way they have presented themselves might not be the entire truth, and there might be some uncomfortable things that you dismiss that might come up later on, because if the North Node increases things, it might increase our rosy colored glasses as well, which Neptune often can put upon us. But I do really like the Venus sextile Pluto energy for some creative endeavors if you're doing them, and getting together with people and really creating something, like putting that intense energy into something constructive, into an art project. So it's really a good day to go to an exhibition or do anything kind of fun. And this is also the second aspect that Venus is forming to Pluto ever since Pluto moved into Aquarius. We already had Venus conjoining Pluto in Aquarius, but now, and then in Pisces, she doesn't form any aspect to Pluto, but now in Aries, she does a sextile. And it is also linked to the retrograde cycle of Venus, because when she goes retrograde, she will sextile Pluto again. So if something is coming up during that time, you might revisit that when Venus is in her retrograde motion. And she will do it 3 times, right? So when planets are in retrograde motion. They have a transit, they do an aspect for the first time, then they go retrograde, it happens a second time, and then they station direct again and it happens a third time. So it almost always is this 3-arc storybook that is going on. On Saturday, we also don't really have anything significant. The moon is in Cancer during that time and will conjoin Mars that is in retrograde, which can sometimes be a bit volatile. Usually I love moon in Cancer, but in combination with Mars, it can get a bit emotionally loaded. So be aware of that. And then on Sunday, we have the Mercury-Sun conjunction, which is a nice little continuation of when first the Sun conjoined Pluto and then also Mercury conjoined Pluto, because I think both of these transits really started to shift our paradigms that are happening this year. And now Mercury and Sun are coming together and forming a conjunction. And because this is happening while Mercury is in its forward notion, it also means that Mercury is turning into an evening star. And because Mercury signifies our thinking processes and the Sun kind of signifies this overarching path of life that we want to move on, like this idea, this golden idea that we're moving towards. I think whatever the Sun, Pluto, and Mercury-Pluto conjunction has triggered and the new paradigms that kind of formed around that are now getting solidified in a better way, and we might start moving into a more clear direction that we want to go. Obviously, when Mercury conjoins the Sun and turns into an evening star, that means that Mercury is on its way to eventually go retrograde, which in this case is happening in March. So Mercury will go retrograde and then it's gonna meet the Sun again, and then, as I already said before, when Mercury stations direct again, it's gonna meet the Sun for a third time. But I do think it's really solidifying this new path that we have set up for ourselves. And Sun Pluto was a lot about our visibility and how we want to show up, especially in the online world. And then Mercury Pluto was a lot about shifting the way we think about things. So whatever has been coming up for you with these two transits is now getting a clear direction, a clearer path towards which you are now able to head. And then the last transit we are kind of meeting and closing off the week with is Mars retrograde, trine Saturn and Pisces. And Saturn and Mars already formed a trine on September 30th, 2024. So look back to that time if anything has been happening. When they formed a trine back then, Saturn was retrograde, but Mars was still moving direct. And often when Saturn and Mars meet, it feels a bit like a push-pull dynamic. So around September 30th, what would have happened is probably Saturn was kind of hitting the brakes. And now Mars is equally hitting the brakes as well. So whatever has been going on in your Piscean and Cancerian houses in your birth chart is having a bit of a big push and pull dynamic that is going on or has been going on since around September 30th. And then when Mars stations direct again, which is end of February, woohoo! It's going to take a while, but on April 4th, they will form a final trine, and then things that have been stuck and felt immovable will probably gain much larger and bigger momentum. And water signs, the element water really rules not just over our emotions, but also over our sensory bodies and our memories and the memories that are stored within our bodies. So if something has been coming up with you not fully being able to process certain memories and things, this is probably like on April 4th is when you finally get that relief or something finally clicks and makes sense and you're like, oh, okay, now I can move forward. Now I fully process this thing that has been going on since around September 30th. And this is kind of really it for this week. I don't really have much more to say. I kind of want to keep this more brief and short because I want to focus on giving other transits and planets more in-depth videos because I just love doing in-depth videos. And I also plan on doing maybe some beginner-friendly videos, but let's see about that. This is it for now for the week of February 3rd till February 9th, 2025. And yeah, we'll catch up next week again. So have a lovely week. Comment down below what you're experiencing, and I'll see you soon. Bye.